Shuffling the cards for you for this month, I feel this overwhelming energy of like anxiousness, restlessness, which is not something that I see often for you guys. You're very, careful about where you're headed, where you're going, and you do things in a methodical manner as well. But what I do feel for this month is that there's some it feels as if there's something that is not being satisfied, okay? Either like a specific craving, a specific thing that you want that seems just a little bit out of reach, like it's not the time yet. And so there's this anxiousness about you of, wanting time to speed up, wanting to bypass a specific stage in your life so that you can, streamline ahead to the next phase in your life. So it doesn't denote to me, that there's anything wrong with it, but I feel like since we can't control time, it might be in your best interest to really try to appreciate the moment and appreciate what you have in the here and now. I'm feeling for some of you in the work front, you're feeling almost like uninspired. You're feeling almost like, oh my gosh, another day, another routine task, another very mundane thing that I have to do. And so you're feeling very lethargic, uninspired, and kind of like bored, okay? And what they're saying here is that in every work situation, we learn new skills. However, if we've been in the same work situation for so long and we're no longer emotionally fulfilled by it, it might be time for us to leave. And I do sense some of you are at a job. It pays well. It allows you to, afford that standard of living for yourself, but it's no longer inspiring. And so think about, where you can shift gears and what you can do. And then I feel like some of you might be taking on a job that you know is not going to be your career. So you could be in high school watching this, working at a fast food restaurant. You can be, like in college working at a fast food restaurant or doing something until something better comes along. And time again, I feel like you're not, you might not want the job, but it's stable. And then, getting out and finding that career track for yourself, it has proven to be difficult, okay? So you might be in school, wanting to finish up school so that you can do something more in alignment with what you studied for. And then others, I feel like you just want the monotony to end so you can get into something a little bit more exciting. But on the career front, I feel like you're not really sure where you're headed. You're not really sure what you want just yet. And I feel like that might be some of the blockages that you're encountering right now. Feeling frustrated about, what do I want? Where do I want to work? What is going to provide that emotional, satisfaction for me? These are things that we need to look within to answer. Things in the external environment is not going to provide those answers for you, okay? So having said that, I feel like the other message that's coming through as well on the heels of that is I just want you to be careful about this, okay? When you're in a situation where you feel very stuck, as with all air signs, when you feel like your freedom is restricted, when you feel like you can't solve some type of a dilemma, because air signs are very, they're very solution oriented. If there's a problem, there has to be a solution. And usually there is, but I feel like what you're dealing with within yourself, this emotional turmoil, this lack of, satisfaction overall, you're trying to find an answer, and the answer is not easy. It's not something that is concrete, and I feel like you're going to feel very frustrated. So one thing that I would advise you, because, air signs tend to ruminate, they tend to obsess over problems and solutions. Get some physical activity, okay? Get some outdoors, do some swimming, even do some hiking, do something where you can kind of just shut off your mind and listen to your body and just enjoy the moment, take in the view, enjoy the experience, because I feel like that's what you really need to counter that heavy, ruminating type of energy, okay? That's going to be very, very good for you. Last message that I want to end with here before we go into this reading is that I feel like some of you are working under somebody who is, they're saying like an overpowering figure. So it could be a supervisor, somebody that you're coming into heavy contact with when you're, somebody that is like, watching over you or that you have to answer to. I feel like they're a little bit overpowering and you want your monotony. You want your independence, and it's really difficult working in this type of a situation. Okay, so I feel like you want change, you want a change of scenery, you want something new. Okay, so let me just go into this reading. We have a lot of good things that are coming through, and one of the things that I feel would be really good for you overall is try to figure out career-wise what you want to do, and so that you don't fall into the same rut when it comes to, being so cautious about financial security that you just take any job because it's stable, but it doesn't really inspire you. So really think about, finding work that is fulfilling, that is emotionally fulfilling, and that will, really be a long-term career track that you find yourself in, like 5 years, 10 years down the line. Will you still be happy here? Will you still feel inspired by the work that you're doing? Can you climb that corporate ladder? Okay, so we have new work that's coming in. That's on the offing for many of you. So the Ace of Pentacles is a very, very good card overall, and I like the way that it shows up because it's right underneath the Page of Pentacles, which is kind of like going through the motions, working in a place where they don't offer benefits and retirement and pension, and they don't really match your 401k, for example. So I feel like you were just working, and it proved to be really taxing for you because you don't see a career in it. So many of you are being offered a new position, a new career track, or something that is significantly going to change your professional life. So not only is it a new job, it's also going to, enhance your status, enhance your living situation, enhance you in many ways. Okay, add value to what you're doing. So I feel like that's where things are headed right now. What is coming through overall is that I mentioned that there is a new job. Just make sure that you have opportunities to climb that corporate ladder, okay? And this new job there isn't going to be that sense of boredom. There isn't going to be that sense of monotony. And there isn't going to be a lot of free time to just, sit around and do nothing. This is a job that's kind of like hitting the ground running. It requires hard work. It requires doing things that you might not have the training to do in the past, but you're going to learn as you go on the job. So I do feel here there is a huge element about having to cater to, having to conform, and having to play by the rules of the game. So that means, no time theft, no idleness, and being very kind of like fast on your toes so that you can solve problems and you can present solution. Okay, so I feel like this is a big job and it's back in now, and I feel like you need to be very, very serious about this job. Okay. What's coming through in the next phase is, whereas some of you might have had somebody very difficult that you were dealing with in the past, like a supervisor, a boss, etc., you have a lot of emotional support that's going to be coming through in the new environment with the new people that you're interacting with. And because you've dealt with a lot of contention in the past, you were very afraid. You were very, skeptical. You were just like, why are they being so nice? What do they want from me? And I feel like your new work environment is going to be very good because you're surrounded by people that have a lot of heart. You might be as well working in a capacity before that was very cutthroat, where the people were just, looking out for number one. But in this environment, there's a lot more cooperation. There's a lot more collaboration as well. There's a lot of information sharing between people. And so it's a much better environment. And so they're pretty much telling you, put your guard down, because the people that are coming in as well, the people that are coming in, they have good intentions, okay? They're highly evolved. They're good people with good hearts and, honest and things like that. And they don't mean any harm. So it's really important for you to let your guard down and, let things be, let things play out, and just to, really enjoy that experience. Um, I'm also sensing, though, that I feel like for some of you, if you're not happy with the current job and you have new offers that are on the table, there is this fear about change, okay? And this is, once again, not something that I'm seeing for you often, Libras. I feel like this is overall a fear of change. Fear of, hanging on very protectively to the status quo, refusing to relinquish control, refusing to, see, it's like to do something new. And a lot of the times, this is overall a card about stubbornness, wanting to prove that we're right, wanting to make a point when the point doesn't really matter. The truth matters, but I feel like this is all about making a point. So I feel overall that it might be in your best interest to really embrace whatever is given to you. Make the most of it, okay? Because you're here for a reason. And I feel like a lot of you, this is playing out in your work environment where you might not have been entirely happy and you should be seeking new things. So if you're feeling very, just uninspired by the work that you're doing, find something else. Find something that will really move you, that will really motivate you, because I feel like job opportunities will be coming in plentifully, but it basically requires that you let go of the job that you have right now and seek some new things, or at least seek some new things, and then when you're ready, when the job that's perfect for you is coming through, then you can relinquish the previous job or the current job. I feel like the spread is screaming out heavy relationships vibe, okay? And I feel like some of you, and I know this is more of a general reading, and the love reading is coming in next. I feel like some of you are getting some type of a sincere feedback from a love relationship partner. And I do feel that in the past, you might have dealt with somebody that had the wandering eyes, that was roaming around, that was kind of like a smooth talker. And I also feel like there was a lot of just deceitful, communication overall, deceitful intentions, and things just didn't work out the way that you wanted. And because the relationship ended, it really, chipped away at your self-esteem. It really interfere with your ability to see yourself in a positive light, because I feel like it was a relationship that made you feel less than, okay? So in whatever capacity, I feel for some of you, this might be, the home that you grew up in where, parents did not get along. There's a lot of bickering back and forth between parents. So they might be separated, they might be divorced. But I feel like as a child witnessing all of this hostility between people, between parents who were supposed to love each other and set a good example for you, it really corroded your self-esteem. And I also feel for some of you, this is an ex that might have done a number on you that really corroded your self-esteem as well. And you have somebody new coming in and showing you love, showing you interest, and showing you a lot of attention. And they're sincere, they're honest. They wouldn't hurt a fly. But I feel like you are very, very cautious. You don't want to get hurt. You don't want to end up in the same predicament. And so you shut yourself off from new opportunities. The restlessness, I feel, Libras, that you're feeling is from you holding on to things too tightly. You're too wound up, and you're too afraid of shifts and changes. You're too afraid of uncertainty. And I feel like that's what's really blocking your energy, okay? So I feel that there is going to be a lot of good things coming through in your career. And I feel like that's going to be the major catalyst for you to feel whole again, okay? To feel like I've made it. I'm successful. I feel good about myself. So sometimes it might require, financial success for us to feel that way. But I feel like that might be something coming through, especially for those of you who are single, for you to start feeling whole again, for you to, rebuild your foundation and to anticipate even, having disposable income so that you can have fun, not being in a space where you feel financial lack anymore. So I feel like you're going to start to open up, and it's easier if you start to open up now. So that means don't cling on to this job where you have, contentious relations with the people that you work with, and don't hang on to the job if you're dealing with people that are difficult, or if the job itself is not inspiring, but it has financial security printed on it. So don't do that, okay? Don't sell yourself short, because you are a really very methodical sign. Your mind it's brilliant. And I mentioned this before, you're the least scattered of all the air signs. Air signs are known for their genius, their ingenuity, their ability to, tackle problems, solve problems, take things apart and put them back together, and to make connections really fast. And because you're like the least scattered, your mind is very, very intuitive, it's very innovative, and it's very good at problem solving. So in any environment, I feel like you would excel. You would be ahead of the curve, you would be ahead of your peers. And so utilize your genius and put yourself to work in a situation where you feel inspired. Otherwise, your capabilities are kind of like crushed under the weight of financial security, doing a job that's not inspiring. Okay? So you're meant for a lot more. And it's really important that you find something that really stirs you emotionally. Okay? Aim to do work where you feel good about yourself, where you feel like you're contributing in a very positive way. Work that is creative in nature so that you can also problem solve and think outside the box, because I feel that a lot of you're trying to fit yourself into the standard structure that people expect of you. You're trying to conform, and you're not meant to conform. And this is a month in which, you're going to realize your true potential, and you're going to realize what a good fit for you is going to be. Okay? So I wish you the best. I'm going to go into your love reading now. The reading looks very good so far. Okay, the cards look very, very good. So I'm happy to see that for you, Libras. You've needed it for quite some time. So let me see what is in store for Libras for love, romance, and relationships. Okay, so this message came out, and I know it's not going to apply for everybody, but they're saying like trying to fill the void with emotional spending. And I feel like resorting to food, resorting to buying really expensive things, and that's not going to be good for you. Okay, so trying to fill a void with something else, like try to fill, like you're trying to fill an emotional void with escapism. So that means, spending your money a lot on food that are not good for you, like fatty, rich foods, and then binging on foods, and then trying to fill a void here by, excessive shopping, buying things even for the house that are really outside of your price range. So don't splurge your money that way, okay? The love situation looks a little bit shaky here. Okay. So let me just talk about the past, okay? Because it's going to go one of two ways. We have here the Judgment card, and we have here the Eight of Swords. The Judgment card basically indicates some type of a major decision, a major, I want to say like discussion that you've had with another person. And you're trying to both decide, how to move forward. You're trying to both decide, like, the communication is more about, what's going to happen to us. And it's linked up here with the Eight of Swords, where you're feeling very stuck, you're feeling very indecisive, and you're also feeling as if there is some information that you're lacking, okay? I'm sensing that in the past, there was a breakup. It's kind of like a mutual breakup, like, do you want to see other people? Let's just see other people. And I feel like things were not resolved like satisfactorily for the both of you. So it's a decision between you and another person. And I felt, it feels to me as if there was lack of information, there was lack of clarity, there was lack of closure here. And you're trying to overcome it, you're trying to get over it. But I feel like, as an air sign, you want answers. And so it's really hard for you to move past this without that closure. But on the other hand, you don't want to reach out to the other person to, invite that energy back in. So I feel like you're, on the one hand, wanting answers, but on the other hand, you're a little bit defensive and your guard is up, and you don't really want to hear what the other person has to say, or you don't really want to solicit the other person for answers. So there's a sense of like needing to overcome your pride in order to ask the right questions so that you're not left in the dark, okay? Which brings us to the present situation. We have here the Seven of Swords. And this card, I don't like to see this card. This basically indicates deceit, deception, lack of trust, or a breach of trust between two people. And it's linked up here as well with the Hangman. And so I feel for this month, there's going to be some information coming to light regarding, if you have a crush, for example, and you're trying to, wait on communication from them, I feel like they might be dabbling with other people. They might be, you might not be the only person on their agenda, okay? And this is going to become very apparent to you. So I feel like there is a breach of trust, or overall, there is kind of like third party interfering in a relationship. And I'm sensing for some of you in existing relationships, there might have been some news that recently came into the picture regarding you and your partner. And you're trying to decide, like, you're still in that mode of deciding, what do I do now? Like, do I leave them behind? Do I allow them to come back? Do we have a peace offering and pretend it never happened? Or do we just move forward and hope that it won't happen again? So I feel like you're very stuck in this dilemma for this month. The foundation here, we have the Tower and the Three of Swords, the Three of Cups, I'm sorry. The Tower is some major shakeup in a relationship that had faulty foundation. And we also have here the Three of Cups, which is third party, okay? So there's only one narrative that I'm getting out of this. And I feel like if you are in a relationship with somebody that has cheated, or there has been some dishonesty, it's becoming very evident that you can't trust this person, or they are making a decision here that they can no longer trust you. So either way it's coming out, I feel like there was definitely some type of a third party interfering in the relationship, making the situation very complicated, very tumultuous. And you're still trying to decide what to do. I feel like on the one hand, you really like this person. It feels to me like there is that element of, not only is there like attraction, but it feels to me as if there is a lot of like, you like the other person for the person that they are. Like, they're a good person, you care about them. And so this lapse of judgment, if it's like deception, if it's like, infidelity, it came out of the blue. It came in a way where it was very unthought of, unheard of, unexpected. And it might have resulted, it might not have been like, full-blown infidelity, but just communicating, catching them in the act of communicating with another person. Or likewise, they could be, catching you in the act, and it's sort of like, what do we do now? It's kind of like a big, major breach of trust between you and a partner, or a love interest, or something like that. Crowning this reading is something that you're thinking about. You're trying to maintain your decorum. You're trying to maintain your cool. You're trying to think about this rationally and to make a decision in a rational manner. So I feel like it seems almost as if you're very stuck in the decision-making process. And, they say that historically, Libras are very, very indecisive. And I feel almost as if you're afraid of making the wrong choice, right? Because you see the pros and cons in everything. And so with a decision, it's not just one decision, it becomes two decisions, right? Because let's say if it's yes, then you have to look at the pros and cons of that too and figure out, what does, yes look like? What does the best of yes look like? What does the worst of yes look like? And then if it's a no, then you have to, likewise do the same. What does the worst of no look like? And what is, the best of no? What does that look like? And so one decision becomes two decisions, and so on and so forth. And so you're just kind of stuck hoping that the other person will be the one to retreat rather than having to make a wrong decision. And so I feel like emotionally you are going to be quite worked up this month. It's also linked up here with the Nine of Swords, and the Nine of Swords is basically fear, guilt, and dealing with a situation where, there's more to the story, and we're too afraid to ask, what else does it entail? Because we almost like don't want to hear it, okay? I'm getting a very strong Sagittarius vibe here. So I don't know if some of you are involved here with a Sagittarius. Based on this Temperance card, this is the card of Sagittarius. And I feel like it just screams out, and I feel like they're racked with guilt. So I don't know if you're involved with a Sagittarius and that has, a guilty conscience on his or her hands. But that's what I'm sensing here. Major decision that's coming in the works. I'm also feeling overall, what we have here is the Four of Wands and the Ace of Cups. And this is the outcome, and this is what's coming in for the future. So if some of you are involved in a relationship like this, and you're trying to make a decision, I do feel that you're going to give that person a second chance, okay? You're going to give that situation a second chance, and you're going to be able to kind of work through it with the other person. What I'm also sensing as well is if you are in a situation where you're waiting, like you're kind of like the third party and you're waiting for your significant other or the person you're involved with to leave their marriage, I feel like the marriage is going to continue. It's going to get dragged on, okay? So deciding, depending on which side of the coin you are on, I feel like there could be disappointment here. But I feel that a lot of you're going to give a relationship partner, you're going to give a relationship a second try, because I feel like you are very much in love. You are very much in love. For singles, I feel as if there's going to be, what we have here, social dating, okay? There is some awkwardness I feel associated with social dating, and it leads me to believe that, for example, if you are dating somebody casually, you might find them, like that you run into them in your social circle or in your professional circle. So that means that it's like you might have a one night stand with somebody, and that's all it is, and then you see them again in a different context, and so it creates this kind of exciting but kind of awkward maneuvering between you and another person. So I feel that element coming through for you. I'm also feeling as if it's like news information. I do see X's popping up, okay? News information from an ex, and especially unresolved issues from an ex. And this is why we really need to be, conscientious about resolving all of our issues before we um, like wash our hands of another person. So it's never good to leave energy open, close that energy, move on from that energy stream so that you can start over, because I feel like there's a lot of unresolved issues here. There are a lot of questions that you need to ask, but I feel like you didn't ask. And I'm not saying this is your fault. I just feel like there's a lot of things that you want to know, but I feel like pride, anger, frustration, it got in the way and you didn't ask those questions even though you were digging for answers, okay? I'm also sensing for singles though, I do sense that um, it's a really good month overall. I feel like for singles to date, mainly because we have here this Three of Cups. This is something that is, it's pleasantries. It's meeting people that you have really good conversations with. And we have the Tower here, which basically indicates very unexpected things. So overall, this combination is not bad when it comes to single people dating, okay? And I also feel like you need to be extra careful when you're dating, but in terms of just making your entrance, re-entering the dating world, trying to find like-minded people, this is a really fun, dynamic month. And with the Ace of Cups coming through, I feel like just be careful that the other person is not attached and that they're not married. Because I feel like there is that sense of like, being swept off your feet and then finding out there's more to the story, okay? But I feel like it's a good month overall to date, have fun, and socialize, okay? So I wish you the best, Libras. I'll be back for the mid-month reading, and if you'd like to book a private reading with me as well, my information for my website, for my scheduling website as well, is in the description box below. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care, okay? And best of luck with new jobs for those of you who are switching over, okay? Take care. Bye-bye.